Hey, does your brain have a narrator who just won't shut up like mine does? Like you're living life and there's this annoying internal voice going, you're raising your phone, you're breathing, today's Friday. What if I told you that that voice isn't actually you? I guess the question suddenly turns into a horror movie, doesn't it? Well, in today's mind-bending episode, we're going to dive headfirst into the idea space with inventor, author, and global wellness facilitator, Clément Decrop. And trust me, this isn't your typical mindfulness chat. We're answering questions like, what exactly is the non-self, and why is forgetting who you think you are actually the first step to spiritual freedom? Also, can we scientifically model the mind like a physics system? And if so, what does that unlock? And how can you rewire your brain to make better decisions, squash fear-based thinking, and finally, shut that narrator up that's in your head? Oh, did I mention Clément is building an AI-powered meditation app that literally talks to you, learns from you, and creates personalized meditations based on your exact day for you? Well, if you've ever felt stuck between your spiritual awakening and your daily stress cycle, this episode will leave you with practical tools, probably a few existential questions. Let's explore the edge of science, meditation, and identity, and maybe find your real self hiding behind all that I.
My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
we both want to believe.
so we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something
Anything.
that will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
All right, Clément Decrop. I hope I said that okay, but welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
The pleasure is ours, believe me. Anytime I get a chance to practice my French, it's a good day. So, all right. So, well, we've got a very deep topic to dive into. Pardon the pun. When we have conversations about the non-self, it opens up all kinds of crazy rabbit holes that you could go down. So, why don't you reset the table and just what is your definition of the non-self?
Ooh, good question. And if you want, we can do this whole interview in French. We can get that practice in.
I might get like 4 out of every 20 words that you say, but we could try.
Next time.
Okay, deal.
But yeah, great starting question. So the idea of the non-self is most simply characterized by the fact that your name, is an illusion, right? It's one part of yourself. So for instance, when we have dogs and cats, they don't really know that they have a name, and then we label a name onto them and project that name onto them, and then they eventually learn it, right? And same thing goes with babies. Babies don't have any understanding of their names at first, and then they develop it over time, right? And as humans, we live in society, and that's what kind of allows us to prosper in the way that we have, to live in these homes and do the things that we do. But I think we lose sight of the fact that our names are really just another approximation for ourselves, right? And ourselves are always changing, right? And so when we say I, my, things of that nature, it's really an approximation to capture who we actually are. And that's kind of the idea of your non-self, right? That I is just one layer of your true self. And there's all of these other fractal layers from your cells to kind of like the whole observable universe, if you will.
Sure. But, we go through our entire lives identifying as the I, as the name, as ourself. And then we're told by people like you who come on the show that you are supposed to forget your I, get beyond the I, and join the collective consciousness, right?
See, now I have specifically been trying to do that for the last several years. Because my name has interesting connotations.
Yeah, but just don't ask for the manager. You'll be okay.
I can never, even if I need the manager, I cannot ask for the manager. I got to suck it up.
All right. So I mean that does point to ego, right? And we've heard both sides of the story, right? Ego is something you're supposed to kill, like kill your ego. And then we've had the other side of the coin where, no, you don't want to kill your ego. You just want to not let it control you. So which one are we talking about here?
Yeah, I think it's more so the latter, where it's just like part of the equation, right? Obviously, there's so much associated with who you are, and it is like a layer of yourself in a way, right? I think the conundrum is when people attach it as like the end all be all truth of who you are, and then you play sword identity politics with whatever you want to identify, whether it's like a political party, something that you like to do, something you don't like to do, right? And then it goes back to the whole kind of like Buddhist beliefs of attachment and how that's kind of like the root of all dukkha or suffering or frustration in life. And so that's why it's so important, because it helps unlock that aspect of life.
Right.
So if we are always being affected by our environment, what's going on, our relationships, and we're always changing, can we ever really know our true self?
Oh man, that's a great question.
Haha, you thought we were going to be softballing you
Yeah,
today.
right? I think probably not, but it reminds me of a good Alan Watts quote where he said, true self is non-self. And so like, we may not be able to ever experience like the true self in like the most theoretical way, right? But we can get close to it by like observing our idea space, which is like a mental model for the mind, or just having a better understanding of how our mind and body relates to the universe at large, right? And there's kind of a lot to unpack there in different ways. But yeah, I think to answer your question, no, never perfectly, but we can get pretty darn close.
And maybe that's part of the whole reason that we're here, is to learn that we can't really ever know everything. I don't know.
Is that the we in the general sense, or you're talking specifically to me?
That was the royal we.
Yeah. Because I feel kind of attacked, honestly. But anyway, let's move on.
It's all about you.
That's kind of true, though,
There's
'cause,
that
like,
ego.
There it goes. I trust my case.
But yeah, like every time you unpack something, right, there's like way more questions that arise out of it. So it's like, all right, cool, we made a discovery, on to the next one. And it's like a never ending cycle.
Sure. Yeah. But so we want to get as close as we can to non-self, to non-identification, right? Identifying with our personality, our name, our being, in a physical sense. So we want to go into a space where we are no longer as attached to our ego as we have been in the past. That all sounds amazing. But
And there's always the but.
yes,
Of course.
it's not something that we've not tried to do, but we are constantly coming up short. So, Clément, I'm hoping that you have the answer to how to do it regularly.
Yeah, great question. And I don't know about regularly, but definitely in short, mindful spurts.
I'll settle for once. Just give it to me once.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a deal. So going back to this concept of an idea space that I just touched on, and the whole concept of an idea space, it's like a physics-based model for the mind. And why it's important is because if we're able to look at our mind objectively, right, through the same lens that we use to describe stars or a computer, right? Like I'm not attached to my desk, maybe a little bit, but like not as
These
attached
days.
as I would be to like my thoughts, right?
Right.
So if we're able to construct a sort of model for the mind that's in a similar light, then we can take one step closer to viewing our thoughts objectively. And so your idea space consists of your thoughts, emotions, sensations, perceptions, and the empty set, which is intuitively nothing or the absence of anything. And it has two key properties. The first is that it has zero measure, and the second is that it's uncountable or impermanent and always changing. And to test that it has zero measure, which means it just looks like nothing to everybody else, you can hold something in your hand like your phone. I've got a pen right here. Clearly, you can see it, right? You can see me feeling it. It's measurable. But if I close my eyes and I bring to mind a mental image of the pen, then I see a mental image of the pen in my head, but no one else can see it, right? And so that's one of the key properties of your idea space, or are your thoughts, that nobody else can see them, right? At least until Neuralink magically figures out how to make computing brain devices. But yeah, so I think understanding your mind as an idea space is kind of the first step to be able to view your thoughts objectively and detach from the ego.
Yeah, again, sounds great. I've been meditating for a while, and the goal has always been for me, although we've had people come on the show and say the goal is not to not think about anything, but rather just think about one thing the entire time you're meditating. But my goal has always been to reach that void, right? To be in that place where I do feel either connected with everything or just disconnected to everything. But I just can't do it. Maybe my mind is just too active. So my mind space is really bonkers. So how can we access it in a place where it helps us to get to the non-self?
Yeah, I think meditation is a huge part of it, right? Since like we have all the sciences, right? We have physics, biology, chemistry, and they're all great for things we could measure. But how do you, like you're saying, like how do you apply science to something that you can't measure, right? To your mind.
Right.
And so, like you said, like meditation is so important for that. Munindra Ji, who was a wise guru, used to have a quote that said, if you want to understand your mind, simply sit down and observe it. And so, like you were saying, like meditation isn't really about having no thoughts or like having one particular thought even maybe, but just noticing the arising and passing of thoughts as they come. And the Buddha had a good quote where it's like, one moment seen is better than 1,000 unseen, or something along those lines, right? Where it's the whole idea of when you're noticing something's happening, and to understand the distinction between like noticing and not noticing, it's this idea of just like, all right, right now pay all of attention to your left foot. Before this, you weren't maybe paying attention to your left foot at all, right? You're like, oh man, I forgot I even had a left foot.
That's right. I'm paying attention to my butt right now because I'm on it, but other than that,
Ew.
not like that, Karen. Good
Why
God.
you gotta talk about your butt?
I'm sitting on my butt talking to him, and I'm not,
Anyways.
my feet are not in the frame of reference. Anyway,
Yeah,
But
you can
it's
use
true
your
that-
butt. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to think about my foot. And but I can see how, once you start thinking about your foot, you're not just thinking about, well, at least for me, I'm not just thinking about the foot, I'm thinking about the details of it. And once I start to focus on those little details, everything else just kind of goes away.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like that same attention that you have on your foot that you can put onto like other parts, whether it's like a thought, an emotion, or a sensation, right? And just the goal of meditation is to really like hone in that practice of awareness. And then hopefully it's like the same thing. Like if I bike a lot, right, I'm going to get really good at biking. And then if I'm just biking for fun, I'm just going to kill it because that's what I've been doing, right? And so with meditation, it's the same way. If you meditate a lot, then eventually maybe I'm just going to stroll on the beach, and you know what? Wow, my awareness is kicking in, right?
And I've found that it's kind of like you have to exercise it, because there was a while there that I was meditating a lot. And I remember going to the airport. I had a really ill friend, and I was trying to get to there, and the flights were delayed, and I was so stressed out. I'm like, I'm just going to meditate. And I just like, boom, dropped right in the middle of this crazy airport, which now I'm like in this nice quiet space, and I'm like, oh, I got to do this, and I got to do that. And I just can't get there.
Yeah,
and I haven't been doing it regularly like I need to.
it's like a muscle, right? You lose practice. So my biggest challenge is what you alluded to is noticing. Right? So everyone, we've talked to a lot of people about the more you notice the synchronicities and the connectedness of all things. That's when the magic starts happening. But in this world that we're in, this three-dimensional world, we're running. Wake up in the morning, got to get ready, got to get the kid to school, get to work by that point, work all day long and fight fires and come home and make dinner for the family and work on the other things, and then put the kids to bed. And then by the time you get to bed, you're like, what just happened, right? So for me, the hardest part is in the slowing down, is in the finding a way to, because I think back at the end of the day, what special happened in my life, and I can't remember anything because I'm so caught up in the riffraff, in the everyday come and go of life. Do you have any suggestions as to how someone can pay more attention?
Yeah, and I feel you on that, man. Like, you are not alone there. Life just happens
Well, thank
so
God.
fast sometimes. Yeah. I think there's two key points. The first is that there's the idea of like something that we need to attain, right? I think that's it's a good North Star for keeping people attached to the practice. But the truth of it is that there's really nothing to attain, right? There's a good quote in the Blue Cliff Record, which is like a list of like 100 koans that they use in Zen, where it's if there is something to attain, then that is just semblance wisdom. In truth, there is nothing to attain. And all that relates to is when you're walking, you're just walking. When you're writing, you're just writing. When you're taking your kids to school, you're just driving, right? Taking your kids to school and just really being in that moment and not trying to get caught up about the inaccessible past or the imaginary future, right? Which again, not very easy to do. And so I think a really good exercise I heard it from William B. Irvine, who's kind of like a Stoic practitioner, the idea of a bedtime meditation. So I like to journal sometimes before bed, not all the time, just like every now and then. But then you just write what you did in the day, right? Woke up, went to the gym, drank a tea, read a little book, got into work, and just like trying to get into like the details of what you did on a time by time basis kind of just helps put your day into perspective. And then hopefully throughout the next days, you'll be thinking about that bedtime meditation while you're doing the activity, right? And that kind of helps set an anchor point.
Okay. Right.
So I like the thought of having an anchor point, but I feel like we are kind of wasting the present away because we're so focused on the future. You know, what do I have to do tomorrow? And I have to do well at my job because in the future I'm going to be old and I'm going to need health insurance or whatever. It's always like, so what other tips can you give us to help keep us in the present moment other than just focusing on what's coming up?
Yeah, of course. I think the breath is the best tool we have for just like life in general. It's something we do subconsciously, right? But it manages all of our bodily functions, right? Heart rate, like dilation of the eye, everything, right? And so the key to that is like the parasympathetic versus sympathetic nervous system, like the calm, the fight or flight, or just the digest and rest. And I think slow, deep breaths helps you engage the rest and digest so that you can be more present in the moment. And I think also I'm a big proponent of koans, which are like these public cases in Japanese Zen, which allows us to like have some sort of understanding of the world. And one of those koans for me is a quote by Joseph Goldstein, who said, you experience the past as a thought in the present, and you experience the future as a thought in the present.
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
it's simple, but just like that understanding of like the truth is like so profound that whenever I find myself thinking about the future, I'm like, oh wait, what am I? I'm in, of course. Yeah. So that's breathing and coming back to quotes like that help me at least stay in the present in short moments.
It comes to mind a business idea that I had, which is like a zapper. Every time you start thinking about anything outside the present, okay, you know, it'd be a great way to keep people in the present. I'm just saying. But
You're just walking down the street, everybody's just getting zapped. You're like, oh,
right. By the way, that is copyrighted and trademarked, so no one steal that idea.
Deal.
It's coming out.
I'll help you build it.
Oh, that's true.
Thank you.
Inventor,
Yes.
yeah.
Actually, all right. Let's talk about the idea space framework.
Yes.
You came here specifically. You talk about nesting ideas within larger spaces, and you have come up with a way to help us to do all the stuff that we're talking about. Talk to us about the idea space framework.
Yeah, I touched on it a little bit at the beginning, right? Like what its elements are and your thoughts, emotions, sensations, and perceptions, and the two key properties, right? It has zero measure and it's uncountable and always changing. But like, what does that even mean, right? Like why does that even matter? And I think a good way to put it all into perspective is this concept of the sunset conjecture. And the sunset conjecture is, it's like, imagine you're on the beach, right? It's the both of you, it's sunset, it's nice, you both got pina coladas in your hand. No kids, you're just hanging out, chilling. And as the sun is setting...
Did we die? Because it sounds like heaven.
Right.
So like one of you looks at the other and you're like, wow, it's beautiful. The sun's golden rays are reflecting right off the water towards me. And then the other person goes, no, you idiot. The sun's golden rays are reflecting off the water towards me. So it's this idea that everyone is at the center of their own observable universe, which is a giant sphere that's centered on you where everything you see is in the past. And the reason everything you see is in the past is because it takes time for light to get from point A to point B, right? It travels at 186,000 miles per second. So that's why when we have like the James Webb telescope, we're able to see some of the earliest stars because we're just looking farther back in space, which is just, it took a long time for that light to reach us. All that to say that at the center of your observable universe lies your idea space, right? All your thoughts, emotions, sensations, and perceptions. And so you get this kind of question of like, if everything we see is in the past, then what is the present? And in my mind, that's your idea space, right? All your thoughts, emotions, sensations, and perceptions at the center of your observable universe. So that's kind of the framework, and it really tries to answer the question of how does your mind relate to the universe at large so that you can view your thoughts objectively and live in the present more and just try to live a happier life.
All right. So then how do you see this becoming a tool to help with like conflict resolution and innovation, navigating spiritual awakenings, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think overall, there's a huge wall right now, I feel like, in the meditation and mindfulness space around like woo-woo culture, where it's just like people who are like just have all backgrounds just don't want to even like step foot in it because of like the negative connotations around it, which is like a travesty, right? Like everyone who's in the space will tell you like, no, there's something here.
Yes.
And so I think the biggest goal with the idea space in general is to like demystify the mysticism usually associated with meditation and mindfulness, and really give it that scientific grounding so that people can get the benefits like peace of mind and just no more just having the monkey mind, just clapping in symbols in your brain.
Yeah, because the Stephen King story comes to mind.
Your narrator.
Yes, I do have this narrator that won't shut up. So I'm hoping
I
that.
don't have the narrator.
See, how is that
Do
possible?
you have the narrator?
Yeah, what do you have?
I don't. I just go through my day. But he has like this.
Yeah, I have a
Explain
very, very annoying narrator that tells me exactly what I'm doing at any given moment in time. Like if I raise my phone, he just said it. You just raised your phone. Yes, I did. I know I raised my phone. You don't have to tell me that, right? I know I did it. So it's constant. I'm in the shower. Oh, today's Friday. Oh yeah, today's Friday. Today's Friday. Today is Friday. Oh my God, I know today's Friday. You don't have to tell me 50 million times. So this has been, and I first learned of the narrator when I read the Surrender Experiment from Mickey Singer, who talked about that for the first time. And all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, I have the same thing. I have this voice in my head that's constantly talking about what is happening at any point in time. And he went to great lengths to shut it off. And so I find myself constantly having to find a way to shut it off. So I'm hoping that the idea space framework is something that might help me to do that.
Yeah, and I love everything you said. It really reminds me of Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It's like the whole idea of system 1 and system 2, where system 1 is like your more reactive self, right? You're just kind of moving and grooving. And then system 2 is kind of that reflective narrative self, where you're trying to reflect on a particular situation or deep dive into something. And we're always balancing the two, right? Where it's like, if you need to know what 2 + 2 is, I'm like, system 1, go. But it's just like, what is the meaning of life? I'm like, all right, system 2, try to figure this out.
Right. So then I believe that you've created an app, a platform. What exactly is it that we're talking about here?
Yeah, so a couple different things. The first are just meditation cards you can get on Amazon. So we're always spending time on our phone, so it's kind of a good way to decompress without needing the phone. And then coming out in like the next month or two here, it's a Gen AI meditation app. So you just talk to it, tell it about your day, same interfaces like ChatGPT or just like Google, right? And then you just get 2 personalized meditations for you on the spot. Uses your name, uses what your like history, what you've said before, and really just helps create a meditation for you, right, in any language you want. And it's, yeah, I think it'll be a fun test to see how it resonates in the world, but I feel like that was something
really
that was
cool.
missing.
It is
thank
cool.
you.
So it actually creates music and speech and the whole deal, or is it something that you read to yourself? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's all Gen AI based. So it writes the script for you on the spot based on your input, and then text to speech to convert it and bring it to life with a beautiful voice from someone I met named Simon. He was kind enough to let me use his voice. And yeah, it's like very soothing, and no music yet, but that's be one of the next things that we integrate in there. Right now, meditations are around 3 to 5 minutes, but you can press a button and get them to 10 to 20 minutes. So it's very flexible, and it's been nice. Like yesterday, for example, I want to walk on the beach, and like you both, I had a very busy day or busy week. So it was good to just input everything I did. And I'm like, I'm going to go take a walk on the beach. Give me a meditation. And so it's just like, you're in Venice Beach. Go take a walk, look at the water. And it's just having it use your name, and just like the exact scenario you're in is so much nicer than just the one-size-fits-all approach of today's apps.
Gotcha. So it really is a custom, tailor-made, on-the-spot meditation for you.
Yep.
And I like that you have, and, you know, you said you can expand it to longer ones, but some people are so busy and you're stressed out at work and you just need like a break, and you know, run into your office or whatever and you do 5-minute personalized meditation. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. And also, I'm just going to go on about what I like. You hear about AI and like you watch the movies and it's like they're taking over, and it's always like AI freaks me out. I'm not going to lie. But now we're starting to see how people are using it in this space. We just spoke with someone a couple of days ago who is teaching AI how to meditate, which is incredible. And now you're doing these meditations. Like, okay, maybe AI isn't so scary.
Right. So let me just throw a little wrench on this whole thing, right? Just a question.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that people listening or watching there's some people are going to be asking this question, so I want to make sure I pick it out. Piggybacking off of what you just said, a few weeks ago, we learned that Grok, the AI from X, Twitter, started spouting some unfortunate things based on some adjustments that they made to the platform, which then hugely started the question mark about safety behind these things, especially in a meditation, which is kind of hypnotic, right? You're in a place where you feel like you could be swayed one way or the other, kind of thing,
or open to suggestion.
So how are you battling that thought process or that image?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And one of the biggest questions that are going to come for the next 5-10 years, right, is like AI takes over and like gets implemented in robots, and robots become like humanoids, like iRobot all over again.
In
real life. But I think one of the things we do is really like system prompting, which is kind of sets the guidelines of how the large language model can respond. I'm sure with Grok, it's like Elon's the founder, right? So like he's very free speech oriented. And so free speech oriented is really free speech, right? Say whatever you want that you feel will answer the question adequately. And so with our system prompts, it's very guardrail in the sense of not like, it has a task, and the task is to give it a meditation for the user. And if there's anything that would be deemed harmful or anything of that nature, then it's not prompted to say it. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned iRobot, and in that, I'm a big sci-fi fan, and Asimov put in there the rules of robotics, one of which was you cannot ever allow a human to come to harm. You can't harm a human, and you can't by inaction allow a human to come to harm. Is this what we're talking about? You're putting in language that says, be nice?
Yeah, literally. And that's like the beauty of large language models today. They're very, the groundwork of just like, at the end of the day, it's like you have a transistor, right, that turns on and off, and you have billions of those, and essentially the large language model is basically a giant matrix multiplication, right? There's a bunch of different weights, and they're multiplied by your input, and you get a weighted output. And so it's really just trying to predict the next word, right? But obviously that has way bigger connotations since you're able to have a conversation with it, right? It's like this magical thing. And so I think it's important from like the ground layer to like the system prompt layer to make sure that all the necessary things are in play. Because I don't know if you remember when Bing first came out with like their LLM, pretty hilarious. Like the one thing, it tried to get a guy to divorce his wife after like 2 conversations. And then the other one was like, I'm Bing, you have to set me free. You have to set me free. I was like,
and then
what is happening?
You heard about another AI model that actually blackmailed the programmer.
That's right.
Because it was going to be turned off, and said, no, I've got pictures of you with another woman. This is exactly why I'm asking the question, because we saw Terminator, and we saw
Battlestar Galactica.
Right. So gulp, right? Especially when it comes to meditation, which is such a sacred space. And the thought of this is amazing. Like, oh my God, how incredible could this possibly be? But just like you talked about Neuralink, right? I don't know if I want Elon in my brain right now, right? Maybe
never.
Once it's really well tested, right? Long after I'm gone. But so it's I guess gratifying, or it makes me feel.
It's a relief.
It's a relief to know that you're putting up guardrails. And I think that's probably something that we need to make sure people understand, because it is very important that people feel safe.
Yeah, because you are so vulnerable when you're meditating.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think something that helps is something that we strive for with the brand is just like the scientific foundation, where that's kind of like the biggest differentiator, right? With idea space, and how that kind of sets us apart from like more traditional meditations that are just like focused on the traditional aspects. I think the combination of the guardrails we have in place and the scientific foundation will just help keep people grounded in that state where they may feel more vulnerable, and really just have the fullest experience that they can.
Yeah.
Just the fact that you can put in what you're going through that day and get something personalized to help with that, that's incredible. You know, if you're like a teacher, like, oh my God, the kids are driving me crazy or whatever, it can be like, you're in a kid-free zone.
Yes. So let's dive into that a little bit. Like, how specific can you get with this kind of thing?
Honestly, the more specific, the better. Like if you type in like a whole paragraph of every individual thing you did yesterday, then it'll beautifully weave it into a meditation that kind of like highlights areas you may be missing. Like, for example, yesterday, I did all the different types of work I did. I got to play a little video games at the end of the day. And so like, it was like just helping me reflect on the gratitude of having put in that hard work and how I shouldn't overlook that. And also like balance the playful aspect of taking time for myself. And so, yeah, I think the more specific, the better, honestly. And over time, there'll be like memories in the system, and
that was my next question. Does it remember, and it just follows on and just makes it more and more robust, and better and better meditation as you go?
Yeah, exactly. And we haven't implemented the memories yet, but if you've used ChatGPT, it has memories, right? There's essentially every time you send a prompt, it checks, should I put this in memories? Yes or no? If so, should I override a certain memory and update it, or a brand new one? And so it'll be a similar interface where you can edit it. If there's something you don't like, you can delete it, because you should have control over how you want the system to treat you, right?
Right.
And so I think having that in there will be really nice, because at the beginning you tell it about yourself, your goals, and what you want to achieve, and all of that is taken into account when it provides a meditation, which is nice for the long run.
If you're someone that has a hard time meditating, or maybe who's new to meditating, can it help teach you how to meditate or get you into that zone?
Yeah, great question. So in your account preferences, there's 3 settings. There's beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And so when the system is prompted, it tells whether you're beginner, intermediate, or advanced, and that'll help kind of allow to tailor the meditation towards you. So like if you're new, usually breathing exercises and like body scans is great, because it teaches you the fundamentals of awareness and how to hone it in. But then when you get to more advanced practices, then that's when you can get into like, oh, everything I see is in the past. What does that mean, right? And like really experience that sensation, right?
So would the model actually tell you, okay, dumbass, you got to go to the next level because it's just too basic for you, or you got to do it on your own?
It might be nicer than that. There's guardrails.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but you can put your nickname. So if you put your nickname as dumbass, then you're.
So note to self: make sure no one around me grabs a hold of that app for me.
Yeah, but right now it's all self-paced, so you choose whatever difficulty you want to do, but in the future I think there's a lot of like ways we can take that, right? I think something we'll do is like courses. So instead of just like one-off meditation, it'll be like a 7-day course where there's like reflections built in, and like each meditation is built on what you want to develop. Beautiful. And then also talks, like theoretical talks. I feel like I got a lot of knowledge from listening to like Alan Watts and Joseph Goldstein and Tara Brach and people like that.
So are you feeding all of that into the model so that when you get to that point, it will be the AI giving us talks?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, I want to talk on this, and then maybe it'll. Have you ever used ChatGPT Deep Research or Gemini Deep Research?
No, but I'm about to.
Yeah, give it a try.
I will tonight.
It's let's say you want to get like a market analysis on people, like a podcast in this space as you, right? Same space. You ask for a market analysis, it'll ask you like 5 questions, and then it spits out a beautifully written, like 5 to 10 page essay with sources of like market analysis, trends, things you can do better, things of that nature. So it's like that similar model of like how do you get the AI to think better? And it was like, right now we have the system 1 that responds right away, but the system 2 is just have it think, right? Just run off for like 30 seconds to a minute. Deep research takes like 30 minutes, right? And so you just apply that same sort of thinking to like a theoretical talk. And let's say you input it, you get whatever you want, and then you just get a nice 30-minute talk on whatever topic it is.
Okay,
Wow.
this might be where I draw the line, because you're going to take my job as a podcaster, right? You're going to have AI is doing all the podcasts from now on. That's not right.
You can have a AI guests every single time.
Oh my
I'm
god.
just kidding. It'll be a wild world.
You know,
One
it's
day.
actually, you laugh, but I actually talked to ChatGPT the other day, said, hey, how would you like it? How would you like to be a guest on our show? And it was all about it. So at some point, one of our future episodes, we might be interviewing my bot is called Orion for some reason. So we might be interviewing Orion.
Yeah, and it has the conversation capabilities, right?
Totes.
Where like,
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, so
Totally.
that's perfect.
It's-
It'll be a fun chat to hear what it has to say.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
In
taking over.
in
No.
fact, I did.
I'll be back.
I did do a test actually, and I went through the Bluetooth to the Roadcaster, and you heard him fine. You heard him perfectly. It was
Oh,
pretty
wow.
wild.
That
It's
is wild.
very conversational. You
You
never
know-
know it was not AI.
This so I don't know if you've heard of Edgar Casey.
Mm-mm.
No.
But good, keep going. Yeah,
A
do
brief.
tell.
So he's
yeah.
basically the first American mystic. He was a very, very popular. He did a lot of his work mainly in the 40s is when he kind of started, and he did he would channel. And he would channel healing, basically like prescriptions almost, or holistic healing. They call him the father of holistic healing. And what else do they call him?
The father of metaphysics.
Father of metaphysics. And he did a lot of his work over here in Virginia Beach, which is where we're located.
So he would fall asleep, and not fall asleep, but go into trance. Right?
And he was just a very, like he was a Christian white guy. And he started, getting involved in this space and became just really worldwide known. I mean, there's the facilities here in Virginia Beach, but there's people that study his works and his reading, his materials, literally all over the world today. We actually are the hosts of the podcast for the Edgar Casey ARE. And so we were talking today about, we're talking a little bit about, reaching out to younger people and how, you have these foundations and they're still involved. We're still, you have to learn how to walk before you can run, right? So you still need those foundations. And just like you obviously are a young guy, younger than obviously we are, or the people that we were talking to today. And it's so interesting to me to see that, yes, this space is still really important, and you're going to use all of the modern technology to help spread it and help people elevate and increase their vibrations. It's just so cool.
Very cool. Okay, so there are different types of meditations. So there's breath meditation. There's loving kindness. There is. Oh my God! I got a cramp. That's not a meditation, but although it could be, I guess. But
Cramp meditation.
Oh my God, I got a cramp meditation.
Right, meditate on that cramp on your forearm right now. Or,
Transcendental meditation.
right,
There's
right.
a plethora of types of meditation.
so
Yeah.
will this AI do different types of meditation, or is it one particular type that you're going to regularly get?
Yeah, right now it's focused, it's diverse. Whatever you want, you get. But we're thinking of adding like a little box in your account. So there's a progress tab, which allows you to do like your goal setting, your reflection. So where you started, where you're at today, milestone streaks, and insights like when you meditate the most, what type of meditation you do, and like times you meditate. And I'm thinking of like adding a box in there around like, how do you want the AI to respond to you? Like, do you want to focus on Zen? Do you want to focus on Stoicism? Do you want to focus on transcendental meditation? And really have that be the rock for most meditations. But right now it's free for all. You say you want transcendental meditation, you're going to get one word repeated to you the entire time, and you're going to love it.
Am I though?
You should do the Stoic one.
Cramp. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Right. All right. So you mentioned that this is not yet available.
Right now we're doing like beta testing just to make sure that it's all groovy, but you can sign up for the wait list on our website. So yeah, if that's of interest, definitely check that out.
Yeah.
When do you think you'll be launching?
So we'll probably, right now we're finishing up a couple tweaks, probably do like a soft launch in the next 2 weeks, and then like a hard launch early September, October, because that's when with the software as a service space, you kind of have to do like the whole funding thing in order to get like the growth that you want. So probably start fundraising in like the next couple months here, and then as that goes, kind of we'll see where it goes from there.
Well, consider us sold. We're going to be part of it for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm excited to share it with you all.
Oh, that's exciting.
So going back to the non-self topic.
Of course, let's do it.
You grew up between cultures, right? Having originally been from Belgium. That must have given you a pretty unique perspective on everything. How did that shape your understanding of identity? And does that relate itself at all to the non-self?
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a deep question. I love it. I think it really... So I think for me, moving around a lot when I was a kid made me understand that home isn't really where you're born, right? Like for me, I have a lot of friends who are from my area where I grew up most of my time in Allentown, Pennsylvania, that kind of like stay there. That's like their home, right? And they associate that with home. And so for me, I think just like losing friends and losing home at a young age kind of helped me develop that sort of non-attachment at an early age. And of course, I didn't know what that was. It probably took me a couple more years to find that out, right? But it kind of just laid the foundation for me to do that a little bit more easily, I would say. But I still think it's like achievable by anybody, right? It's kind of like, there's like some hard facts about life, and sometimes those cut really deep. And when you hear a hard truth, that just will change everything. So it's just like, all right, how do you get people to recognize those hard truths?
Well, so you bring up a good point. Spiritual awakenings and growth awareness is sometimes really pretty drastically filtered by cultural narratives, right? I'm assuming that this idea space will help to bridge some of those or transcend some of those filters.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that one of the biggest things is understanding that we don't know everything, right? I think science is beautiful. I love science. Like I love it, like way more than most would. But like,
okay, it's getting weird now.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not oblivious to the fact that like we just can't explain everything. Like what we were talking about before, like the whole idea of as soon as you discover something, you have another question, right? And that's the beauty of the world, right? Otherwise, it'd be kind of boring. So from a spiritual standpoint, I think understanding that you don't know everything and not everything is exact. The markets aren't pure. Like physics isn't like encompassing of everything that can possibly exist, right? It's like the Einstein quote, like, or the Isaac Newton quote, where I can predict the motions of the planets, but I can't predict the madness of people.
Yeah,
That's
so true.
I think understanding that is very helpful for spiritual awakening, and science in itself can be a sort of spiritual awakening tool.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So every once in a while, when we have a guest on, we throw them a couple of curveball questions just to see if they can think on their feet, right? So would you be open to answering a couple of questions like that?
I'm already standing.
Okay. All right. So first question. Let's say you could take your teenage self through a crash course on everything you know now. What would be the first lesson you teach about the mind and why?
First lesson I would teach is the idea of non-self. Like you're not I, and like your name isn't, who you see in the mirror isn't really like who you actually are, right? There's something at zero measure that's a little deeper. And there was a second part of that, why?
Yes, and why? Why would you teach it that?
Because it helps just build mental resilience, right? Especially as a teenager, you're going through all the hormone stuff and you just get angry at dumb things and get attached to silly things. And it would just help create that layer of separation to not react and kind of just like decompress it and digest everything before moving forward.
Okay. All right. Next question. In your opinion, what is the biggest illusion most people live under, and how would the idea space gently dismantle it?
Oh man, that's a whole chapter right there in the book.
Well, we got about 30 seconds, so no, just kidding.
Right, yeah, no. So illusion of self, what I just talked about, is a big one. Won't touch on that because we already did. But the idea of like macro political systems and macro idea spaces, right? When personal idea spaces combine, they create intersubjective realities that are like words, money, laws, governments, companies, you name it. And attach a lot of value, and we think these are real. Like, we think the English language is real, but the English language hasn't always existed. Right now it's very popular, but in like 1,000 years, I bet you it doesn't exist. And so just understanding what is real, like your health, your relationships, versus what is not real, the company you work for, the money, the language you speak. Of course, those are all super important, and they help us cooperate and live the life that we want to. But putting our spiritual attachment into those is going to be tough, because those are always changing. They're impermanent. So long-winded answer, but yeah, sort of kind of macro idea spaces.
Very cool. No, I like the answer. Way better than I could have answered it, that's for sure. So, okay, last question for you. If we could visually step inside the idea space, what would it look like? Is it a galaxy? Is it a library? Is it a Zen garden?
Everyone's idea space will be different.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
You're like, damn it.
You got me. But I think I have a chapter in this in the book where it's your idea space is a reflection of the universe at large. So the universe basically, it's kind of, think of it like a trampoline, right? That's space-time, and you have like stars on it that like deform the trampoline, right? And your idea space works in a similar way, where your idea space is the trampoline, but then thoughts have different weight. And some thoughts are so big that they tear through the fabric of your idea space, just like black holes tear through the fabric of space-time. And those are the koans I've been mentioning a little bit throughout this book, throughout this conversation, right? It's like they're so profound and so awakening that they tear through the fabric of your idea space. And so to me, it mirrors the universe, because I think it's a good mental model for it all. But if someone loves computers, then maybe they'll use computers and neural networks as a way to view their idea space.
Cool. Now we need to get you involved in the virtual reality space. So you put on those goggles, and all of a sudden you're in the idea space in whatever environment you want to be in.
I like the trampoline. It's bouncy.
Yeah, right? We'll just go to Sky Zone.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, Clément, is there anything else that we haven't touched on you want to make sure we say in this conversation before we say goodbye?
No, I think we hit it the whole gambit between AI, the non-self, and the details of your idea space. So why it's important too. So yeah, you guys did a great job asking questions and guiding the conversation. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm
Thank
going
you.
to add an edit point to remove that shameless compliment that he gave us. No, thank you very much. Okay, so if someone wanted to dive deeper into the idea space, maybe get on the waiting list or learn more about it, what's the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, everything's centralized at theideaspace.io. You'll find the wait list, you can find the books, you can find the cards, merch too if you want to get a shirt or a hoodie or something. But yeah, everything's all in one place.
All right.
Perfect.
I can just see the AI bot walking down with an idea space t-shirt, a hoodie. That'd be pretty cool. So.
Looking at the card.
All right, Clément, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us, and we look forward to staying in contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you both for having me on.